ready? Zach, you ready? All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is a portion of the meeting that if you're not on the agenda and you have something you want to bring up, you can bring it up. We can act on it, but we can talk about it and talk about it at a later meeting. So is there anybody that's not on the agenda that has something they want to talk about? Bob, you don't have anything?
Why is he not?
All right.
I would ask to amend the agenda to add a resolution for the use of ARPA funds for the highway department and an amendment to the proposed interlocal agreement with Jefferson County.
Okay. Randy, you want to give that motion to amend the agenda to add the resolution and also the interlocal with Jefferson County?
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes that motion. Greg?
I'll second.
Greg seconds it. I'll make that unanimous so that we'll add that before Kevin. Oh. So anyway, looks like Dr. Melissa Fry. See, I told you that was wrong.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight. You all know me, Jamie Topie with the Community Foundation, for anybody who's watching on YouTube. This is Emily Jordan. She is the chair of our Early Childhood Committee, and then Dr. Melissa Fry with IU Southeast. So, as you all know, with the Community Foundation, we do a lot of different things in the community, everything from like arts to youth to historic preservation, all the stuff. And probably about 13 years ago, my board asked me to meet with the superintendents. Education has been a very large part of what we do, even though we touch on a lot of different areas. But they wanted me to meet with our school superintendents and find out from them what they felt like we could put a focus on that would make the biggest impact in the community. So both of the superintendents at the time had said early childhood education. So that's what we did. We eventually partnered with United Way of Scott County. We started the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. We created our early childhood committee. We've done a lot of things. The committee has been very active over the years with doing like resource fairs, connecting families, to resources, promoting literacy. You all know about the Story Walk because you approved that last year, and hopefully that's been a good addition to the courthouse square. So a lot of different things. Last year, Lilly Endowment gave us a planning grant. And so the foundation board decided to take the early childhood a step further and do planning with it. So we wanted to be more intentional about what we were doing. So we contracted with Dr. Fry at IU Southeast. She did the needs assessment that I think you're all familiar with that we did a few years ago. And so we had listening sessions this spring, and we've come up with a plan. So now we're here to talk about that plan tonight. You might be thinking like, why as commissioners does early childhood matter to us, and what are we supposed to do about it? So she's going to talk about that tonight, and you'll really see like this is a workforce issue. This is a society issue that impacts every single person in Scott County, even if you don't have young kids. This is very important, and there's some things that you guys can do as elected officials. So without further ado, Dr. Fry.
Hello. Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm going to, as I talk, I'm going to use the acronym ECE to refer to early care and education from birth to age 5 so that I don't keep saying those 3 words because it's a bit of a mouthful. I'm the director of the Applied Research and Education Center. I have done community and economic development research and facilitation for about 17 years. The very first research report I wrote, and this wasn't here, this was I'm about to tell you. The very first research report I wrote as a research associate for a nonprofit community economic development firm in Eastern Kentucky was on childcare and the challenges of building sustainable businesses in childcare in a low-income market. I had been exposed to research on early brain development as the mother of young children participating in a cooperative play school, preschool, but my work in Kentucky led me to the literature on the economic benefits of high-quality early care and education. In my community economic development work, I examine community systems and help local organizations identify leverage points for community transformation and thriving. Education and healthcare are foundational for all communities, and ECE may be the greatest point of leverage for both. This evening, I will share with you just a very small slice of the extensive research on the economics of early care and education and what the economic picture looks like for Scott County families. And I will hit a few highlights on early brain development and what access to high-quality ECE looks like in Scott County. I'm providing a couple of fact sheets to drive home the value and importance and to give all of you some talking points and things to consider as you make decisions for your community. I will note some of these figures will be updated and enhanced within weeks, as there is a report coming out soon that looks more closely at costs and updates economic impact models for the state of Indiana. This is the hot topic, right? Everybody's looking at it. All the decision makers in the state are looking at it, and we're not alone. That's true all over the country. I can't include those findings here because the study has not been released yet and it's not mine. So I can't, give you the sneak peek or anything like that. But the more we study the topic and refine our models and surveys, the more we understand the vital importance of the decisions we make as communities about how we choose to care for and support infants and young children, which also means caring for and supporting parents of infants and young children. Across the literature and examinations of various impacts of high quality early ECE, estimates of the return on each dollar invested in high quality ECE range from $4 per dollar invested to $16 per dollar invested. Estimates of just the public return on public investments are about $4 per dollar invested, and those estimates do not include impacts on future health care and public assistance savings or the potential for higher incomes and steady employment for child care workers themselves. A 2018 study of the impact of inadequate child care in Indiana estimated that the shortfall in child care cost $1.8 billion in direct costs to employers, including $1.1 billion due to employee absence and turnover. That report estimated costs for rural Park and Montgomery counties at $3.3 million to $7.9 million annually. Scott County's population size lies between these two counties. So given that, we might pencil in around $5 million in costs to local employers here in Scott County due to absences and turnover. Quality child care is essential to increasing labor force participation and lowering child poverty rates. Among Scott County women with children under the age of 6, labor force participation is about 68.5% compared to 73.1% for Indiana and 72.8% nationally. 31.8% of Scott County children under 5 years of age live in poverty, compared to just over 18% in the state of Indiana and nationally. That number drops to 16.6% for children 5 to 17 years old when our existing public child care and education kicks in, the public K through 12 schools. This shows that local parents work when they have somewhere safe and healthy to send their kids. A new study out of Ball State estimates that adding 100 child care workers to the typical Indiana economic growth region would lead to an additional 860 women ages 25 to 34 or 2,300 women ages 35 to 44 in the labor force. The difference in the age groups is attributable to the fact that infants have a far lower required child to caregiver ratio, and younger women are more likely to have the younger children. Investments in ECE are economic development. Years ago, some work by Mildred Warner at Cornell University found that the economic development impact multiplier for high quality ECE is around 12.1 compared to 3 to 4 for most economic development strategies. Part of the reason for high returns lies in the lifetime impact on children who receive high quality care. 90% of the brain structure is built by age 5, and much of that scaffolding forms by age 2. My old fact sheets and reports included a data point that 700 to 1,000 neural connections were made each second during the first few years of life. The Harvard Center on the Developing Child has conducted a systematic review of current research that uses more advanced brain imaging technology, and they have updated that figure to more than 1 million new neural connections forming each second in those early years. The foundational scaffolding on which all future learning builds is established before our traditional K-12 public school system even meets a child. This means taking collective responsibility for supporting strong starts for children birth to age 5 is in all our best interest. In Scott County, roughly 70% of children under age 6 with all parents in their household working do not have access to care that is rated high quality. The Department of Health and Human Services says that affordable child care is care that costs no more than 7% of the household's income. The average cost of registered care in Scott County, regardless of quality, is well above 7% of median household income, making it unaffordable for the majority of households with children. While many families qualify for vouchers, voucher and provider waitlists limit the impact of such assistance. The state has recently changed some requirements for vouchers to make them more accessible, particularly for those who work in early care and education, but also for all those earning up to 185% of the poverty level. Still, the supply of quality care and the costs of care keep it out of reach for the majority of Scott County families. So they make do, choose not to work, parents work opposite shifts, which means the family is seldom together, and many children are left with whatever adult is available to keep them safe. During our listening sessions, we had one person share a story of someone leaving the child home with a family member with active substance use disorder because that was the only adult available. As county leaders, you are a vitally important stakeholder with an interest in seeing Scott County seize the opportunity that early childhood presents. Over the last 7 years, Scott County increased the number of quality ECE slots fourfold by putting pre-K in the elementaries and having the Early Learning Academy. Recent shifts have eliminated roughly 20% of those quality ECE slots. A committee representing diverse stakeholders and incorporating input from several listening sessions has developed a strategic action plan for Scott County. The plan includes the following 3 components. 1, community education and advocacy, to shift the conversation around ECE away from a babysitter model that assumes a child that can't talk only needs a clean diaper and regular feedings, to one rooted in a clear understanding of the importance of birth to 5 and the potential returns on investment for increasing supply and access to affordable, high-quality care, marked by developmentally appropriate activities and interactions. 2, a Scott County ECE director position to provide backbone support to align community assets and coordinate access to care to move toward the goal of every Scott County child having access to high-quality, affordable care. 3, build a high-quality early care and education workforce pipeline. Scott County has ready assets for building a pipeline of trained and educated early care and education workers who can create developmentally appropriate, language-rich environments for infants, toddlers, and preschool-age children. These include the Schneck Medical Center's babysitting certification and training, the high school career and technical education programs, the Prosser Early Childhood Program, Ivy Tech's Child Development Associate's degree, and IU Southeast Elementary and Early Education programs. Local government has a role to play, along with area employers, school districts, and the state. Your community has energy and many assets ready to align in pursuit of leveraging early childhood to build quality of life and a high-quality labor force for a strong future. I encourage you to engage this opportunity. I don't know the specifics of all the things that come before you, but I think there are ways that county government can play a role in supporting this.
Good, that was a lot of information.
It was.
Good, we get a copy of that?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to email it to you as well.
And it's like, the report that you all have is the full report, and then those are the briefs that come out of, to make it a more condensed, easy to read version as well, so.
The report includes the strategic
That's
action
right there
plan
for you,
and
Randy.
details about what they might consider success. And this is sort of it's the result of a lot of brainstorming and organizing ideas, so it's also something that will change as the groups work on these issues. But you also have there a data profile of Scott County that helps you look at some economic and health indicators in the community, and then some of the data that we have on early care and education. And Jamie and I were talking about the fact that the data on early care and education is kind of variable because some folks, like the Austin elementary preschools, they don't show up because they don't have to apply for licensure and they're not on paths to quality, which means they're not being tracked by Building Blocks, which is the local resource and referral agency. They don't have to report data to them. They have roughly, what did we figure out, 80 to 90 slots. that are probably quality, but we encourage them, when we spoke to them last night, to get on paths to quality, to be a leader and a role model for other providers in the community. There's lots of opportunity in your rural communities to have in-home providers get more professional development and learn more and get on paths to quality, so that those in-home providers that serve some of your remote areas can also provide quality care.
And that path to quality is Indiana's rating system. So
Yeah.
basically, it's levels 1 through 4, based off of what inspection that you have. Level 1, 2, you build up to 3. 3 is where you can get your certifications for online pre-K, more money from the state to help build your program.
And you could see there's an infographic on the back of the the brain development brief that shows you what the paths to quality levels kind of include on the lower right-hand corner. There's also on the economic development one, there's a table that tells you, given average costs of care in Scott County, how much a family would have to earn for that cost of care to be affordable for them. And I think that's a really important table for everybody to look at. The full report also contains some more information and maps of Scott County and income levels in Scott County to think about, where do you want to make sure where do we already have quality care, and where do we want to make sure we're getting more out. The other thing is these preschools are absolutely fantastic, and that's where all the increases really come from in these last few years. But as the information on brain development tells you, we got to push back into the toddler and infant years if we really want to have impact. It really needs birth through 5, all need to be tended to.
And I know, we've heard many meetings now of the county strapped for money, right? Everybody's strapped for money. But I think, Dr. Fry has shared, and hopefully everybody understands the importance, we can pay for a little bit now, or we can pay a lot more later. That's kind of why we started the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. States were building jails based on how many kids couldn't read by grade 3. So those are the kinds of things that we need to be thinking about now, being proactive instead of reactive. And if we can get the county to invest, one of the things was a countywide ECE director, not necessarily a county position, but building blocks, the referral agency, having a full-time person in Scott County devoted to these efforts, working with manufacturers, working with families, all the things. Because you all know I can't do it all by myself, and our committee is comprised of full-time educators and people working in the school districts and preschools and volunteers, and so to have somebody devoted to that would be a huge help. We did this plan in the hopes that we would get Lilly funding, and we did not make it to the next round. It was a highly competitive grant. So in the meantime, we're just going to keep working at implementing a lot of the goals that are in this plan. The awareness part is part of it. So, presentations, we'll be visiting. I think we'll be back here for the county council maybe next month, but both school boards, both city councils. Next week I'll have a community presentation where Dr. Fry will talk to people in the community. So even just when you're out and about talking to people, getting them to realize the importance of investing in early care and education.
So where's the state with this?
Well, the state still doesn't even mandate kindergarten, so that's what, I feel like they're making strides.
They are.
But it's government, and you all know how slow you all work. You're trying to get things passed, and there's, I guess different philosophies would be the politically
The state
correct
does
way.
have a program. It's On My Way Pre-K. On My Way Pre-K is for children who are 4 years old by August 1st, and you have to qualify for the voucher like income. Basically, it's a preschool voucher. But you also have to attend a Pass to Quality level 3 or 4 in order to receive that voucher. There's not enough 4s or 3s for the amount of kids that could qualify for the vouchers. So the state is helping a little bit, but there's still some stipulations and requirements that it has to have.
So I guess my question would be is, you guys gave a presentation to us. Is anybody giving a presentation to the legislature?
I think that's part of what we will be
To-
asking is the
To the
advocacy
board of
part.
directors?
Right, because really our legislators, the state really, if you ask the superintendents, they need money per pupil, just like they do for K through 12. They need that for preschool. We know what happened at D2 and why it was not financially feasible. They were paying their teachers a living wage, which they should be, but it's not sustainable because parents can't afford to pay the weekly rate. So it's a broken model.
But again, I mean, I understand you're coming to the commissioners, but the schools are the ones that, and I mean, I get the trickle down thing, but I mean, the schools are the ones that are educating children, and if they're getting buying into that, we need to be from birth to 5 to be able to start, getting a developed brain for a child when they get to their kindergarten classes. I mean, that's where I think that, I'm wondering what part are they playing in this, because you'd rather have somebody that's further down the road
yeah.
when they get them, and my family having some educators, I'd be kinda curious, again, where the state's at, where the governor's at.
I think, yeah, go ahead.
So I will just say, all of the districts in the 5-county region that has participated in Align, which includes Scott County, their schools sent kindergarten teachers to a group that met for a couple of years and developed a kindergarten readiness assessment, that folks participate in to monitor this and are working collaboratively to the counties are then working collaboratively to try to work on this birth to 5 piece. I think the schools actually are pretty strong advocates for the birth to 5. They don't legislatively, they don't have control over it, of course. I am a co-author on a brief that will be delivered to both governor candidates in a few weeks, and so that we will send to all of you after that's released. That's making the case to them for the importance of it for the state, at the state policy level, and that will also be delivered to all of the state legislators. So it is, we're trying to sort of, instead of thinking there's a silver bullet, making sure we're educating all of the folks in positions to make various decisions that end up impacting what this landscape looks like. And the reality is that the funding model, because parents can't pay what it costs to provide quality care, we have to have public subsidies for this. If there's not, the market can't solve this problem. We've tried letting the market solve it now for, women moved in greater numbers into the labor force in the 1970s, and we never changed anything about our institutional structures. We made that completely and totally a private concern. And the reality is that we've paid a price for that, and that, we're now getting sound research to support why we really do need to support this as a collective, because we all pay the cost of not having it. We pay in special education, we pay in juvenile justice, we pay in criminal justice, we pay in healthcare, we pay up and down, we pay in welfare assistance. All of those things go down when you do better with birth to 5.
So, and I'm just wondering, when you talk about the vouchers, is there a way, when you talk about pushing on legislators and potential governor candidates and such about, changing the criteria on the voucher?
So they did do a change, this last legislative session was where they expanded eligibility. The problem is, we've made more people eligible, but we don't have more care. We don't have more slots, we don't have more places to send them. So that's part of why this group came up with this, okay, well, we also need a workforce. There's also gonna be a small business development piece, to support people who wanna start childcare centers or who are providing or want to provide as more of a business, that in-home option for families. All of those things, that's gonna require more small business development support. And also probably some, a funding model that ensures that, one, people have the vouchers. The other thing is, you run out of the voucher. There's not an unlimited supply of the vouchers, right? And so I've worked in other communities where that was the problem. They had a wait list, of hundreds of kids waiting for vouchers who were eligible. There just weren't enough left.
And I think an important piece of this is we're not just talking we need more care. We need more care, but we need more quality
care.
And we're not talking about somebody who just opens their home, okay, I'm watching kids now.
No.
That's great and that's lovely, but the quality piece, like she said, is to advocate for developmentally appropriate practices
Absolutely.
and environments that are safe.
Which means it's not just any adult who likes kids and is willing to open their home.
We've had multiple in the last 10 years things happen in the county with kids not being in quality care.
So, and I totally buy into you know, your research and what you're doing, because as Indiana has been very strong economically, I mean, probably, you know, one of the nation's best states to do business in. We've laid that groundwork. But the second part always comes to that is, what about daycare? What about early child development, those kind of things? That always part of lays into those areas. I've been at conferences where the governor's talked about that before, and the conversation always switches, no matter what the topic is, to early child care development. So it is important. How we get there, it's a challenge. One of the things I was going to ask Jamie, so was there any places that did receive a Lilly grant for this particular?
It's
fund?
still round 2, so they're considering the next batch of applicants. Scott County is part of a regional request for early childhood, but I don't know.
Which I think is probably actually why, I mean, this is just my personal opinion, is that probably they said, okay, we're gonna go early childcare through the regional, so we're not gonna
Have a bigger
invite
impact.
we're not gonna invite the individual county.
Gotcha. So there's
So there may be some funding.
Maybe some funding. I don't know that it will be funding to do what we're wanting to do with, you know, that plan, but it will benefit Scott County, you know, as a region, if we make it to the 3rd round.
Direct impact and the biggest impact, no, it won't. Little impact it will. The impact it needs to have, it won't.
So what's this supposed to look like? You're talking about hiring a person to oversee this. I mean,
So.
if you hired that person, what would we expect to see?
What we had proposed in our plan to Lilly, so Building Blocks is the child care resource and referral agency that Dr. Fry had mentioned, and they cover maybe 16 counties, I think, whole southern part of Indiana. So when a parent wants to know, where can I take my kid for childcare, they're the ones that you would call, and they would say, yes, here's a quality center. Or if there's a new center opening up there, they're gonna assist them on doing the right thing and getting licensing, and I'm sure they do
Moving
a
along
lot
with paths to
more.
quality, they provide a lot of technical assistance helping people move up in their quality.
So Building Blocks, our proposal was that we would have a full-time employee under Building Blocks that would just work in Scott County. So right now, because they cover 16 counties, they're doing a little bit in every county. We want a lot in Scott County and focus just on Scott County, not one person covering several counties, because we just feel like it's not getting what we need done here. So having that person here would help, you know, we talked about connecting families with resources. The biggest thing that we really felt, I think a long time ago, what's the new Conco or whatever that was there, American Steel Cord and the childcare that was around the corner, like things like that, where a manufacturing facility has childcare on site. You know, getting employers to understand, you know, we had some of them come to the listening sessions and they said, well, we have an older workforce, so it really doesn't impact our employees. Well, first of all, they are maybe grandparents raising their grandkids. Second of all, they're going to retire, and then there's going to be younger ones who have childcare issues. Third of all, they might not get employees because they have childcare issues that they're facing. So getting the large employers to understand, like, this is why this is important, this is why maybe they could provide financial assistance for somebody to, you know, go to a quality daycare, or paying for a, you know, daycare on site would be, I think, the dream if all the big manufacturers
There's all
had
kinds
that.
of models that it could go. I mean, we visited places in Alabama, and it was really amazing just to hear the different models that they have down there.
And it was born, like the one that she's talking about, it was born from the business community and the elected officials who said, we see a need in our community, and they made their own daycare and preschool high quality based on that. It wasn't coming from nonprofits or anything else. So those are the kinds of things that we're thinking this position could do. You know, we haven't gone, I think at the time it was like a concept is what Lilly was asking for, so we didn't go too into depth, but just advancing the whole cause and getting people to understand the importance, and, you know, developing those relationships, advocating with, you know, to elected officials, all of the things.
And likely what it's gonna take to really build more capacity is alignment of things that government, local government does have control over. Sometimes that's land, sometimes that's, you know, zoning, sometimes there's a variety of things that end up playing a role in how easy or difficult it is for a community to build high quality centers, or to, you know, redevelop properties to become places for high quality centers in locations that best serve families. So generally, communities have to align public resources, some of that's funding, but some of that is these other things, these other levers you have. With private resources, the business community really fully recognizing that they have a real stake in this, a real direct financial interest. And then the nonprofit sector, which also is a connector and, you know, helps serve the wraparound needs of families and helps connect families to those resources, helps them connect them to the childcare centers. Building blocks and a building block staff person in your community would mean helping coordinate some of that, doing a lot of that education. But they also do programs that are about educating parents. They have a whole program that's Parents as First Teachers that operates at public libraries. You got 3 public libraries in Scott County, and they do these wonderful programs where they're just teaching parents about how to do high quality, you know, developmentally appropriate interactions at home without having to spend any money, you know, and that kind of thing. So a person who's working all those fronts can really move the needle more than you would think one person can, because they know all the different pieces and they're coordinating all of that activity to really move the whole project forward.
So the current daycares that are here in the community, I mean, are any of those certified to the level that you're talking about?
There are, a couple that, I think on the outskirts, is it, they all have like little.
Tiny treasures, little treasures.
Tiny treasures going out towards Lexington. There's like tiny and little in a lot of the names.
1, 2.
And then one right past, where the Red Loft barn is.
So what's the,
You have all that on that board.
OVO Head Start is a pass to quality, the school district, the
so is the
preschools they
so is the
have.
program that the YMCA has, is it certified?
I think the goal is to work towards that. They are registered and licensed.
So is the programs at any of the churches that have childhood
I
daycares, are they
don't
not?
think any of
certified?
those
We can get you that
are,
list, how about that?
yeah.
So we have better information to give you, we can give you that information.
Cause I mean, I know there's several facilities that have daycares. Are they developing,
And let me,
and I think the churches probably going towards that.
yeah, so let me, I wanna
Stage.
make sure that, like, and anybody who's listening, we're not saying that it's not high quality just because they don't, that's the state's definition of what
Yeah.
high quality is, that they're on paths to quality. There are a lot of places here locally, like Austin Elementary, for example. We know they're educators, we know it's a high quality, but it's not high quality by the state's definition. Scottsburg Christian Preschool is not under paths to quality. We know that they are high quality. So that's an example of, we have some of those, but it's still not enough to meet the need of all the kids in the population
And
here.
in turn, if they don't have that certification, they can't receive those voucher systems.
And that's where I'm saying.
And
Right,
there's
they need to
already-
draw down those state
you've-
funds
You've already
to
got
engage with the quality.
facilities.
Yes.
And some of them are-
The need is to get them certified.
Yes, some of them might need some financial assistance because the state has requirements, and when you have like an older building, like the church might have, like, it's very difficult and it costs a lot to do these things that the state is saying you have to be on the paths to quality, because I think some of them have looked into it. So that might be something that, you know, the county could help fund and.
And among the recommendations in the policy brief that'll come out in September, it is doing some re-regulation that would make it easier, for example, for in-home providers to meet those standards, right? Because right now, it's sort of a blanket standard that there's some things in there that maybe don't make sense, right? If you're an in-home provider, and so the idea is to sort of re-regulate to make sure that there's still safety and, you know, all the appropriate regulations, but that they make sense for the different types of providers so that we can get more of these providers and get more of them onto paths to quality for that very reason. Because that's how you draw down the state funds, right? Like
That's how
your
you get
access.
it to your families, and that's how you get your families back working. That's how your economy goes.
Have you guys talked to any of the companies at all yet about any of this?
They were at a few of them were at the spring listening sessions that we had, so that's kind of where we gathered all the information to make that report. And then we'll have our community presentation next Tuesday at the Science Park. So if you know of anybody that wants to come to that, I will have lunch provided, let me know. Jan always makes extra food, so we can add them on even if they're not registered. But yeah, I mean, I think we have at least one from one of the companies that's coming. So the more we can get there, the better. But I really, and I need that connection, like, you know, I don't have the connection with everybody because it's not my, you know, it's not my realm. But if you guys have those connections, or you want to introduce, anything like that, we appreciate.
Yeah.
Well, it's like probably reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce is probably the easiest way to
Didn't
reach
they,
out.
you said they used to have that roundtable?
Yeah, they kind of struggled getting, COVID has changed everything for all of us, so getting people to come to things, that's why we're coming to you all, because we figure we had a captive audience while you're already at your meeting, so it's the same thing with anybody, right? Like, that's just the way it is
Well, we
now.
had a sender in town a couple days ago, and he was asking what we needed, so maybe we need to reach back out to him and say, here's, we did give him some information but maybe we need to buzz his ear again about some other stuff, so.
And this is certainly a policy issue at all levels in the public school.
Well, I mean, state kind of oversees all the public education, so I mean, they ought to have a hand in it, and a couple of years ago, they gave back surplus money to all taxpayers, and that'd been a good time to take that money and put it somewhere else. So, kind of frustrates you when
Yeah,
they have surpluses and they don't spend them in the correct way, so. And as you say, if you don't wrap your arms around a child at an early age, or, they tend to, go in the wrong direction sometimes, so.
And you all as elected officials, you're involved in the politics of everything, and you probably know people that, can make a difference at the state level. So, use those connections and advocate for the cause and.
Well, we've had a pretty good year with one of the candidates for governor, so, he's pretty open to listening to all conversations, and, so we'll see where we can get some help there as well. Randy?
so the size of Scott County and the amount of kids in Scott County, what something like this would cost?
To fully serve them? Oh, I don't really know.
Our
the answer to
request
that.
to Lily was multi-millions, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it wouldn't have necessarily done that.
Yeah.
We have, was it 1,400? 1,400 kids?
Kids from birth to 5.
1,400 kids from birth to 5. You're looking at roughly 150 a week for high-quality childcare, that's the range. So, 1,400, 150 a week. Times 50 weeks in the year, because you do get your 2 weeks of personal days or whatever.
10.5 million, right?
Well, you had on the agenda about something about ARPA funds, so, hey, there you go.
It'd be nice if we had that.
No, we know
that was more we ever
that is-
received.
That is, perfect, but just put it in perspective.
So if you send us that email as a reminder on the event coming up for Tuesday.
For next Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it's, she's gonna be presenting a lot, like, the same information that you heard today, so yeah, if you wanna pass it on to anybody who's.
Somewhat expanded version,
Yeah,
same idea.
and we'll make sure we get that out to some folks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's an important role that you can play.
Yeah, well, thank you, Dr. Fry, for coming down.
Appreciate all the questions
guys.
and all that, so,
Thank
thank you.
Thanks.
Jeremy?
Alright, I have the manufacturers and warranty information for the, split units for the radio room. The lower bid, actually, with a better, warranty information, with a better warranty, so.
So what was it we asked you to go get?
The
Oh,
warranty information.
Type of unit. So
Yeah,
it looks
the
like-
brand and
Looks like it's an LG.
that one already had the brand on it. That's Bryant.
Brian, let's see that. Sorry. Looks like we had two bids to replace the AC unit and the radio room, is that not correct?
That is correct, the radio room.
And, one of them's from SNL, one of them's from Miller Heating and Air, both local businesses. The one from SNL is for $4,745, and the one from Miller's is $4,791, so.
Before, John had his surgery, I called him and, I asked him if he looked, if they looked at this and if it's the way that they would go. And I explained to him that I think that it was important to us that whichever way we go, that it's serviceable for a long future. And John said he was basically, they just quoted what was asked, and he wouldn't necessarily do it this way. And not to put you off
Yeah,
again,
that's
but I
just
would
trying to
like,
replace what was there.
I would like them to look at it one more time and just,
So what was his suggestion of he wouldn't do it this way?
he had surgery,
I know.
so he hasn't had a chance to revisit since the surgery.
Still working on it.
Yep. For now. If it goes down, it's Freon.
I'm still right here right now.
It's- yeah, it's-
I'll be here in 15 minutes.
It's Freon, so it's a Freon leak.
I'll make a motion
As
to
far as-
table it until our next meeting, and Randy can get some questions answered that he's wanting to answer.
Well, I just wanna see what they come back with and let us compare, so we know exactly, which way we need to be going.
I'll second.
I made a motion to table it till the next meeting,
Okay.
so that Randy can get some
So I'll just get-
information.
John actually had me go through Henry because he didn't wanna
Yeah.
Well, Henry's the
That's what he
one that does all the,
quote him.
That's
no,
what,
he does all those, mini splits,
Yeah,
that's what John,
yeah, so.
so
I made a motion, Greg seconded, and Randy.
I'll make
give
it.
Henry a call in the morning.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Sorry, Jeremy.
All right.
Hey, it's cool outside, just open the window. Is there a problem, you always have to have an energy drink when you come in here?
You wear me out.
I hear you. Hey, he's here. Kevin's here.
He is?
Talking about blacktop?
No. You wanna talk about blacktop? I don't have it on mine. Alright,
Kevin could do a pretty good job with concrete too.
can you?
Yeah, you might.
Do it for the same price?
We're always looking for concrete writers,
Hey, we just chip seal it out front.
Whatever makes my gravel stop moving.
State's coming through here right now.
It's a personal favorite throughout the county.
Surprised, as always, the financials are on top. Having a really good month so far, 121 out of our 2 deposits, so
Yeah.
2 left.
We need to change that a little bit.
What?
You know, we're having a really good month, I mean, somebody's not, so.
We're having a good financial month,
Yeah.
since it is
There you go.
important that I don't get put on the tax roll, so for
No, you're good.
that purpose, we're having a good month. Year-to-date's 1.57, projected's at 2.4. Cash
Wow.
ledgers, what,
2-4,
moving on up.
moving up.
Cash ledger's at 986, and that's after we transferred, last week council voted to, move about 28,000, I think, give or take, out of our 1151 fund and put it into our training fund for the paramedic program, so that can be self-sufficient. So before that fund was created this year, we took money into 1151, and we just wanted to move it back, so I have, for budget time, I've got money to use for that budget next year, so we would have been over a million if we wanted to move that. So far, we've done 306 runs, 911s, another 45 community paramedicine, so in 20 days, we've done 351 runs. Any questions about any of that? We're averaging about 18 to 21 runs a day, depending on the slow days versus the busy days.
Good job.
First thing, a little pop-up thing, I'm just trying to plan, Would there be any objection to offering the coroner's office that old ambulance that we've got?
The Chevy,
Yeah, the 2014 or whatever it is.
I think it'd be a good idea.
The only question I have
Mhm.
is, I know other counties, their EMS transports,
Some do, some don't, just depends.
as I said, some
Mhm.
other counties still do that. They are, I mean, let me back up a second. I don't think every death call that a coroner is involved in, the coroner makes the scene.
If they are hospice. You okay? If they're hospice patients, they do not.
If it's-
Anything else that's called on the scene, we request them. But if they're hospice patients, hospice kind of takes care of their own thing. And then there's obviously sometimes that they're, called to the hospital, you know, that we end up initiating care and then transport them, and then something happens and the doctor sees something, they may request them there.
I guess where I'm getting at is that I'm not against giving somebody a vehicle. Where I'm getting at is that, I don't want EMS that now transports almost all bodies to the coroner's office or to a funeral home or wherever. And if I know that process is still happening like it did, the funeral homes are giving you some money for that transport. You're saying you don't?
They get billed, but it depends on who if we transport to the morgue, then no. If we transport to a funeral home, it depends on where we're transporting from. If we go from the hospital to the funeral home, then no. If we go from scene to funeral home, then yes. So it depends on, and I'm not saying we won't help out. What I'm saying is, you know as well as I do, there's sometimes that we're tied up out there for 2 hours and I'm holding the truck.
That's where I'm getting at, is I don't want to give the coroner's office a vehicle and then all of a sudden you go, it's not our baby, they got their own vehicle.
Nope, what I'm saying is, we have to leave because I've got,
I get that.
other emergencies to attend to, so either you can use yours or
I don't want
we'll be
to
back.
I don't want to
That's
have
all.
a vehicle for that, so.
Yeah, I'm not saying there won't be the facilitation to help out, or, if it's gonna be something quick or we got trucks available, we won't. Alls I'm trying to do is have that safety net so someone's not waiting for us, that's all.
I get it.
Or we can look at selling it, I just kinda wanna know
So
where
what kind
you're
of money would we get if we sold
at. Probably less than 10.
them? Okay.
Could we make a food truck out of it?
Make a camper out of it.
I noticed somebody was.
Kegerator.
Yeah, we had someone come into our building about that specific thing.
I think it's a good idea.
We can try to, if you'd like, I can list it first and then see what happens.
Like I said, I don't have a problem with giving it to them. I haven't
talked to Lonnie yet either.
And I wanna make sure that it's not like they got their own vehicle and we're not gonna transport for them.
That'd be really cool, but I feel like I'd get a phone call from you shortly thereafter if I said that.
I think that's a good idea.
But, and again, the reason I say that is because there has been times, and I mean, not in the last 4 years or 3.5 years, but in the previous years, that, the coroner calls and says, what's up here? And you tell him what's up, and he goes, I'm not coming down there, just transport him to wherever.
Yes.
So it's not like that coroner's out there on every call, and that's what I was trying to say. They're not on every call. They may call you and say, what do you have? And you explain to them, and they
say,
they're
we're
fine with
good.
it.
Yep.
And that's where I'm getting at, is that you're there, they're
Yeah.
not there.
And that's the thing, is then we're not waiting. But, if it's one of those things that's 8 miles out and then they're 10 miles out and then they gotta get ready
Yeah.
and,
I get that.
it turns into a time, but.
That's where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't want, and I think, I'm not saying this happened, but I think it did happen, but I don't want some sort of
You're on your own.
authority person or an organization, EMS, police, whatever, at a death scene, and all of a sudden, coroner says, well, I'm on my way, but I don't know how long I'll be there. You guys leave, you've left a deceased person in a house with their family that's tore all the crap anyway, and now all of a sudden, they're there by themselves.
Yeah, we can't do that. But yeah, obviously
That's, I mean, I'm
there'd be
just,
parameters
I'm
in
just saying
place.
it's just technicalities.
I guess the question would be, would you like me to list it at a certain amount and take the money? And if not, we keep it and give it to them? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you wanna have a bonfire? What
I'm
do you
gonna
wanna do?
say, and the only issue I have with giving them an ambulance is that it's almost excessive. And I say that a Durango, a Tahoe, or something would be a more suitable vehicle for that transport than a full-blown big old ambulance, or.
Agree. I just was trying to
I know,
utilize
you know,
resources.
And I know what you're doing, and I
So
appreciate
that's
it.
gas, isn't it?
But
No,
That's diesel.
that's a 6.6 Duramax.
Okay, so that kinda, you know,
Plays
they gotta
into
make sure,
it. That's a lot of maintenance then.
who's plugged it in and ready to go.
where do we get the Durango or
Oh, I-
whatever to give them? And we have this.
I guess a better
10,000.
phrasing should have been, what would you like me to do with this ambulance come November?
I liked it. I like their idea.
We will table that and I guess think about it. And just, I mean, we've got 2 months. I just want some, do I start listing it or do
Well,
I
Does it
start
have a
stripping
lift,
it?
That's
any
the
kind of
point,
lift
too.
assist?
Sir?
Does the ambulance have any kind of lift assist?
No, it's just a hook and claw. So they have,
That
they-
doesn't sound good when, please explain and don't leave that there.
there's got a hook at the end that the stretcher locks into, and then you slide it in, and then there's a claw that holds it into place. It's not a
It
power
doesn't
load.
slide around the back of the ambulance.
So they do have one of my stretchers already, that's a power stretcher. So they have one of those that I gave them a year and a half ago. So they have that, so.
I'm just-
Brainstorm.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
But actually, now
I'm
that
moving
you
on.
said it was a diesel, that kinda, there's a lot of maintenance in my opinion on those, but anyway, think of it, we'll think about it.
Okay.
Moving along.
Yes, main reason I'm here. Last meeting, I brought up our trending run volume that is continuing to hold. I sent the three of you, I'm not sure if you received it, a bunch of
Scenarios,
numbers, options, scenarios, viewpoints to look at, things to consider, what my current cost has been since April on just part-time payroll. I was unable to, I will say, I was unable to weed out the times that people were covering shifts, like if Jennifer took off and then they covered, I just went through what my part-time payroll was. But we did confirm that a majority of this was in fact not shift coverage, it was additional shifts covered. But you will see, I mean, some of those figures are going to be, you know, a shift here or there, but we're talking a couple $100. You know, and you can see April, we were up, May was a somehow slower month, and then June, July, August are all trending at the same dollar figure of plus that
So-
$20,000 mark.
with all these options,
Yes,
and I know how you like to crunch numbers, which
I'm okay at it.
option would you prefer?
So that's a double-edged sword. So I've been recently working on our budget projection for next year, and I'm having to consider what's semi-feasible to financially be responsible for and what we actually need. And unfortunately, those are two different things. To sit here and commit to say I can afford all of these options would be an entire lie, because my budget projection next year is over 3. And I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. You know, I've had to bump up our insurance $50,000, our fuel $50,000, our workman's, I mean, this isn't frivolous money. I mean, I'm trying to project for all these things that I'm having to go back for. You know, from a coverage standpoint, option 1 would be my preferred thing, because it's kind of I've proven this method to work elsewhere, and I know it works and you get the most coverage. Financially, the only one that I can sit here and say I can most likely self-sufficiently support would be option 2, but unfortunately, that's the least amount of coverage. Option 3 is not overkill in the sense of coverage, it's overkill in the sense that I have to hire a minimum of 4 employees to do so, and
Benefits.
yeah, so option 1, 2, and 3 are all benefits. Those are adding positions. The problem is on option 3, we would have to have a special pay scale, which I have another thing that I need to talk to you about anyway. But because of the hours and the schedule that they would work, if I paid them what a 24-hour employee works, they'd be making like $30,000 a year, and no one's gonna come work full-time for $30 grand a year as a paramedic.
Well, I got a question
Doing
now that it just kinda came up, but
Mhm.
if we're talking about option 2, which is a 5-day, probably Monday through Friday or whatever, maybe Tuesday through Saturday, I don't know, but whatever the 5 days are.
Yep.
Cause seems like on Mondays, you don't seem to have as many runs, it seems, but I'm just saying that. But anyway, with the 5-day-a-week, would that be something that you're hiring somebody specifically for that option 2? Or would that be still a option for people that aren't working one of those days to work anyway?
So, that depends on the month. And what I mean by that is it depends on how many part-time employees I have that are active. The unfortunate part about staffing that with part-time employees is, again, all those part-time employees are working full-time somewhere else. So getting them to be dependent on working 2 jobs is, you can't guarantee it.
But where I'm going with this is that you right now have employees that are also on part-time list at other facilities when they're not working with you.
My full-time people work part-time elsewhere, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Maybe not an ambulance service, but they're.
Maybe, I don't know.
But if they're, I guess where I'm going with that is that they're willing to work somewhere else, and maybe it's a sleep versus work type of thing. You know, would they be more apt to work for you on another day instead of going somewhere else? And
Possibly,
somewhere
the
else?
problem is that figure goes up because they're gonna be, in the first second they work, they're in overtime.
Okay, and that's where I'm getting at, is that, but you're not paying them benefits either, so you need to
Correct.
play out the benefit versus the overtime
Yep.
schedule.
But then we have to play out did I just do 22 runs the day before?
And that's where I'm at, is
Yeah.
that, you know, they might go somewhere else with a part-time job and know that they're gonna sleep.
Yes, that happens. I mean, you know, and that's my.
And that's what's going on with other people too. Other people are working other services, they're on your part-time list because they're working a full-time, they're working part-time for
Yeah,
us.
and some of them, a lot of our part-time people will only pick up 12-hour shifts, knowing for that 12 hours, they're working, but they get to go home and sleep. They're not running for the full 24.
Yeah,
They get the ability to progressively treat patients and sleep at home.
so I know you got several different options here,
Mhm.
several different scenarios. Do you think that, you know, cause we did this same
Yep.
thought
That's
process.
how we ended up with 3
when we
trucks.
were two ambulances and we were running a third, and then this whole thing was about, hey, can we sustain a third truck? And it's obvious we end up paying for a third truck and can sustain it because you're still profitable, and so the question now is, because of the transfers and for people that don't really understand, almost 90% of the people that go into the ER, they get transferred, they're gonna get transferred out somewhere else. So, that's just the way it is. So in turn, but the other flip of that is most of these transfers, and I would almost say 90% again, are chargeable.
To an extent, our self-pay rate's probably in the 30%. But then you have people at the hospital that, you know, attempt to sign these people up for Medicaid or state, you know, government insurance and stuff. But I think they have, you know, Dean, is it 30 days or something to get on insurance from the day they're seen? There's some time to recoup, but then it starts affecting in the bill.
But where I'm getting at is that, are we talking certain days that we need the fork truck?
So I ran 4 or 5 different reports. And unfortunately, there isn't consistency to sit here and say it's always these 4 or 5 days and it's always these timeframes. I mean, you know, we can sit here and say Fridays and Mondays are probably our busier days out of the hospital, and then, you know, 911s just fluctuate throughout the week. I don't know that we can pinpoint to sit here and say a time, and that's the only thing that scares me about the second or third option is, you know, I can have you guys sign up to work a Monday and we do 2 runs, but then Sunday we did 23 of them and you guys, like, that's my only concern there. That's why I think option 1, unfortunately, the most expensive option, as far as flat rate's concerned, but you have the ability to have that 24 hours of coverage. That is the one benefit. There's, you know, the other thing that I think, you know, that's on my list here that I think that we need to address, that I feel like needs addressed, is I'm sure you guys, if you're on Facebook or any of that stuff, you're seeing what a lot of these departments are starting to pay in the area, and we are not holding a candle to that. We'll never be able to. We are a different service. They're fire base that receives $27 million a year in taxes. They can afford that payroll. But I think we do need to incentivize our part-time. And I know that this is kind of a council decision, but, you know, to have your understanding here, I think we need to start exploring that we pay our part-time a higher rate than our full-time, to start incentivizing some of these part-time employees to work for us instead of picking up elsewhere. Cause that's part of the thing is I'm paying so much in overtime because I'm dependent on my full-time employees, and they don't mind because, again, minute 1, they're making
Yeah, I get that.
$30 an hour.
I still think the debacle of the EMS service south of us, hasn't played totally out yet, so. And I know they're paying a service out of Muncie, Indiana, just an
$138,000 a month.
absolute outrageous amount of money for, I mean, these guys are making $1,500 a week sleeping in a hotel room and they're happy as crap, but
I would be too.
I would too. But anyway, that faucet's gonna be shut off eventually, and I know with one of the other counties down there that they have an option of what they're gonna do, but now they don't know how to pay for it,
Jeff?
so.
Yeah, I've had some.
We have
directed my way about trying to assist them in their transition.
I get that, but that all hasn't played out yet. And there's only, as you know, so many paramedics, so many EMTs, and so many advanced, so. And if you're in that group right now, you probably can write your own ticket, so. What's your guys'?
Yeah, I mean, I just need some discussion. What are we thinking? Do we just keep fighting the good fight and draining the people how we are? I mean, like I said, I can sit here,
I'm gonna say this, cause,
I guess that
can we put a fourth truck on right now with a part-time crew?
consistently, no. And that's just being
Could we
honest.
do it? Could we do it 3 days a week? Right now and see how it plays out?
I can do whatever you ask, I just don't know I just don't know that it'll be staffed. Like that is my problem right now, is that I have the same 3 part-time people that are highly active, and then the other 20 part-time people, you know.
But if you told them, this is gonna be guaranteed on.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah.
I can try it and report back in 2 weeks.
I'd be interested in see how that alleviates some of the pressure on you or on the service.
It would be, you know, I think a decent case
Cause
study.
we wouldn't have to go out and hire somebody right off the bat. We could see with a part-time staff is this gonna work or is it not gonna work?
Mhm.
And if it does work, then we could go, okay, now we need to hire for those positions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect a decision tonight by any means, but I need some exploration ideas from you guys to,
Yeah, I think that's great.
What do you think about that? Are you ready to drive an ambulance?
I mean, we've made a commitment, for Scott County to have the best ambulance care, available. And it seems like to me we're somewhat sacrificing that for the transfers.
Well,
So
go ahead, I'm sorry.
we need to, I mean, if we can afford it, we need to do what we gotta do to keep the care level up.
that's the
Well,
key,
those,
is the affording part.
well, and
Yeah.
that's where I'm getting at, but to back up a second. Everybody that's being I won't say everybody, 90 or 95% of the people that are being transported outside of out of our hospital out here are Scott County residents. I mean, you may have somebody that's been in an accident on the interstate or something that gets transported. We are transporting our own people, our own residents
Yeah,
to a higher care facility. So I mean, that is still, they're getting the best treatment they can get, or we're sending them to the best treatment we can get them.
well, right, but I mean, if we have if we don't have enough ambulances available when we have a emergency, that's what I'm concerned.
Yeah, and that's true too, but if we have a full-blown emergency here, if one of UPS's planes go down here, or a commercial jet goes down here, you're gonna have EMA involved, you're gonna have multiple facilities here. I mean, those planes are already out there for
Right, no, I'm
everybody.
not talking about that, I'm
But
just,
as far as, and that's what Nick's trying to do here by bringing on a Ford truck, is that right now, if he's got 3 trucks out there, 2 of them are out of town, that other truck is not leaving the county. They transport to Scott County, and if they have to fly them, they fly them, or whatever happens. That's what happens now. We do not leave Scott County unattended.
Correct.
And I know that, because I watched one of them come back to Signal 3 with lights and sirens the other day, trying to get back to the county, because there wasn't another ambulance, so.
how good is the ambulance you was just talking to us about? What year is that?
The 14 or 6, the old Chevy,
Yes,
how good is it?
what year is it?
It's either 14 or 16,
How many miles?
135. New transmission,
Is that one?
newer by new I mean less miles. I put it in on my wedding day back in 2000, whatever it was.
That one, well.
Would the hospital consider hiring someone if we gave them that ambulance to transfer
They have their own
in
ambulance.
the event that we are busy?
They have their own.
They have their own
ambulance service,
transport service
and they don't use it.
and their own ambulances and their own people.
But we got them shut down.
No, we don't.
No, I mean, yes, but no.
That's clear as mud.
Well,
Well,
we
whenever-
we have an ordinance that says that you have to get my permission to come transport.
Right,
I call them all the time,
They don't do it.
okay.
and they say, no,
They say no.
correct. Not in so many words, but yes.
So would you be against him utilizing part-time people right now for 3 days a week to staff a Ford truck to see if?
No, I'm not opposed to that at all.
I think we need to see if it works, and then if it works, then we can hire him.
And we can use that ambulance that we're talking.
We already got a fourth ambulance.
Yeah, I don't need trucks, I need
Okay.
people.
He needs the people.
I thought you were wanting to buy
No,
another
no,
truck.
No, I can't afford that.
It's just about, we're just trying to see if we can staff it, and if it works, then we can hire full-time.
I'm fine with
If
that.
we're not gonna staff it, if it doesn't work, then maybe we see, hey, and we know that it could, like you said, it could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and it's Tuesdays and Thursdays were the busiest week, you
Yeah.
know?
And that's the reason, like, looking at these options here, having that 24-hour coverage with a person, that's the easiest thing to supplement. It really, I mean, it's the highest, but you get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of coverage by an extra person.
And so it needs to.
So that's the thing is when there is downtime, we're only paying one person and not two.
Yeah.
And when we do need to do that, we can still then we can utilize that one part-time person to come in with that extra person to staff a truck.
And you're gonna try to use the personnel, part-time people from personnel you have now?
To staff the other person,
Yes.
we'd have to hire 3 people, 1 for each shift full-time. And then the other person that would be their partner would be part-time people that I already have, yes.
But right now,
I'm just trying to think of benefits, so.
It's
county-
3 people.
Yeah, but if you're using,
It's part-time.
if you're using your people, some of your people when they're off work or whatever, then the county already is paying their benefits.
No, this would be, option 1 is to hire 3 more people. That's,
you'd be running a Ford truck.
Yeah, so, and that's, each person's what,
What's his hourly rate?
$18,000 a year benefits.
Yeah, roughly 18 to 20.
benefit costs.
It's
I
about.
think we're about, I was thinking more like 30.
What's up?
That's what I was thinking.
How much?
I'm thinking more like 30.
30 a year?
That's why I'm short.
It was,
I'm thinking
I thought it was 20.
Wow, I thought it was 18.
So anyways, yeah, like option 1 would be pretty much taking the captains or the supervisors that I have now, taking them off of a truck and putting them in a response vehicle, and then hiring for their position on the truck. That way you always have a chase medic that's able to help out. And then that way you have that one person. It takes me, Kalen, a part-time person, minutes to staff a 4th truck. So we're not paying for a 4th truck, we're paying for a response vehicle essentially that can help mitigate the response time, but can also immediately staff up a truck with another person.
Let me
So,
go ask a question here. If you're gonna do that in that sense,
Mhm.
the 3 people that you talked about are all paramedics.
Mhm.
So you'd be best off to man that other position with an advanced EMT.
that's plausible.
Because it-
And you mean, yeah, that's why I've got this on here. You
That's
can,
that.
yeah.
So you would not be paying, well, you're saving yourself about $2 an hour.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, for an extra 18 grand a year, 20 grand a year, I'd rather hire paramedics because they're hard to come by. But yes, you have the ability to save
you're putting them
15, 20 grand a year.
you're putting them out the back door in the school.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm gonna say, I mean, if these guys are all on.
You want me to do a trial run for 2 weeks? That's what I'll do.
Do a trial of part-time
Let's see
people.
how it goes. Yeah, see what you think about it.
Yeah. Because it is $9,000 if it's paramedic.
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying we need to
we need to take the pressure off of people too. And quite honestly, what brought this up, and for people that don't know, is that we were talking about how his overtime budget went through the dang roof of over $200,000, and we said why, and the reason being is that we're running an extra truck.
Yeah,
Well, I think-
June I had $21,000 in overtime, July I had $25,000 in overtime. April I had 15,000 in overtime.
So, that's where we're
I
at.
think that helps us build somewhat of a business model with it
Okay.
and, that's worth it at
I-
90,000 a year.
See what you can do.
And then as far as the part-time rate, I mean, is that something you guys would support me going to the council asking for?
I'm fine with that, I mean,
Yes.
that's, the wages ordinances,
And that's-
salary ordinances are with them anyway.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you guys aren't caught off guard. I know it's a conversation for them. We've got to do something to combat. We're in the same problem as every other public safety entity.
Yeah,
So,
all right,
yeah,
thank you.
cool.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take that pink drink with you.
I'm good.
Hey, those are good.
Thank you. Appreciate your support.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin?
Fine,
Hey, Nick, could you reach into Jenny's office and reach around in that bookshelf and grab that little bag and just Put it back in your inventory.
This is the Bridge 28,
You'll see one.
federal,
It's on that
Bridge
wooden-
28,
Lee ever heard?
I don't
engineering
think she's
geo road
gonna need that in her office.
from USI. The same draft we had last week, improved, went to NDOT, they improved it all that everything was correct, and now it's back to you all to sign. And this will be phase one, engineering of it.
Alright, so you guys know exactly what this is. I'll entertain a motion to, well, we all sign here, so I'll entertain a motion to accept this LPA consulting contract with,
Yes.
is it USI?
USI.
USI, yeah, there it is. So,
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes the motion, Greg,
One second.
Greg seconds it, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Sign your John Henry. What else you got? Oh, another one?
Next one's gonna be, for the 25 through 28, bridge inspection with United. Same draft we had last week, and just went through NDOT, back to you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the consulting contract for the county bridge inspections for United.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes that motion. Greg? Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. What is it, 21st? 21, 22. What else you got?
This is just some of my crew changes that we're looking at right now. And,
Speaking of that, how'd that go?
it went well. Of course, we're just kind of in the preliminary exactly what we're gonna do. I just kind of want to let you guys, see that. So, one thing we started was, right-of-way bridge and special projects crew, which, Steve Royalty will be the crew leader over that. And I listed, several of the duties that, this crew's gonna be responsible for. One of the main ones is something we've kind of neglected probably for a long time here, but I'll kind of briefly go. If you go to the back, I'll start backwards. If you go to like, the back 2 pages on these.
Pictures?
Yeah, the pictures. So like these are like this bridge is on one of our priority lists, and a lot of it's just scour and undercuts, and it has I think this was one that has a lot of dead load on it. It's like 9 inches of asphalt.
This is
on
Slab
top
Road
of it.
Bridge?
This actually is on Big Ox Road. This one is Slab Road. That's a whole
I
different.
see it down.
That's a whole
Sorry,
different
I see
project.
it now.
I'm sorry, the next one back is, the one that has like 9 inches of wear surface on top of it. Anyway, one thing I want this bridge crew to do is we'll go out and work on a lot of these projects to try to kick the can, prolong some of these bridges down the road as long as we can. Because a lot of these, on the recommendations of the, bridge inspections, a lot of them are, things that can be repaired, things that can be prolonged, and maintenance, so, that's part of what that crew's gonna do, but, you kinda see a list of the things that he's gonna be over, but this is definitely a big part, and the reason we wanted to start that. I figured we roughly have $100 million of bridges and assets, so I think it's well worth, investing in on it. Those first 2 pages, these are on our priority list, and I just briefly, I'm gonna come up with some more over the next few months, but I just kinda wanted to touch on them so you can see them, like this one over Westlake Road. Like, I think this would probably be a bridge we might be able to, utilize CCNG for this kind of bridge, so we're 75-25. You're probably looking at a $600,000 bridge. And the next one back, that was over Big Ox. I guess it was a replacement, I'm sorry. It's another one I think you could utilize, CCNG. So just kind of the basics of what that crew's gonna do, try to push stuff out so we can get these other ones lined up. Bogartis Road, small structure, it actually talked to KOB, we're looking at Friday, as long as it gets paid, and it's supposed to, so it should be open by Friday afternoon. Cutshaw on Main Street, right now we're looking at September, waiting on a little bit of material for that. And then, where am I at? Off Bloomington Trail. It'll probably be sometime in September too, but we'll get a little more update on that when the material comes in. Oh, yeah,
Did you drive in from 56?
I did. A couple of times, right?
I did too. My red vehicle's white, but, hey, I can already tell, cause I drive that road a million times, and I can already tell that some of the places that were bad space places are not there, so. So I know I sent you something in a text or something about that fluorescent.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
I mean, is that a thing, or is that just, or is there?
I'm sure it's a thing. It isn't anything I know about, we'll look into it and see if, what's available out there. We actually just bought paint, we're gonna do tomorrow, the crews are gonna do a intersection upgrade on Finley Firehouse in Little York, so, they've been working on the paint sprayer all week, or off and on all week, and got it going up and ready, so we're gonna do some lines at that intersection, so about 528 feet all four ways. White lines, yellow down the middle, and then add signs in that intersection. There's been a couple of bad wrecks there, so.
And primarily that's Little York and Finley Firehouse
Yeah.
for folks that are listening and watching, so.
Can you get Slab Road? One
Yes,
up the hill there at Greenville?
that's another thing that the crew that we started, part of what they're gonna do is safety projects like that. Because that sprayer, we haven't used it, it's been around since I've been there, and it hasn't been used, but it's a expensive piece of equipment, and it's a piece of equipment that has to be like took care of very well, or it's not gonna be any good, so. Putting it with a crew, I think will work out. So yeah, there's a lot of, anything you see that you think, there's a lot of them we're gonna go after, intersection, hills, I mean, we can't take off and paint the county, I'm gonna make sure I make that clear, we can't do that, but we can definitely do dangerous areas.
Yeah.
And,
Just making people
I
know.
think it might help with some of the people on their cell phones,
yeah.
if they have a, you
Well,
ain't gonna get them
I
off
think
their
we-
cell phone.
I think we talked about last time about 465, where they got the lines painted at the intersection and the blocks that slows you down. I don't think there's any doubt the lines affect people, makes them
Makes you look.
at least pay attention a little more maybe. The Slab Road, you'll probably kind of see what we did out there. We need to order some signs, maybe some crossroads ahead. We ordered some oversized signs, like 36 inches. They're bright. Reflectors down the pole. So we're gonna work on those, with that crew, we're gonna work on those upgrades. It's just, just identifying them and start on them. That's the hard part.
How's your building coming?
It's good. We poured half the floor last week sometime. And we're gonna pour the next half next Wednesday, the plan.
You feeling all right now?
Yeah, I was sore next day.
Yeah.
It's been a day or two. I was sore the next day, but I'm moving now. We'll get that poured, and still working on our oil water separator. I have another I got one bid back and I thought it fell over, so, or quote, sorry. So I reached out to another company who suggested we get a precast form from maybe and whatever that is over here on 31.
Yes, no.
And then put their stuff in their box. They said it won't be the other one that I priced would have been a very good one, but it'd be like for a commercial car wash. I mean, it was very, very, very expensive. So we had to back up on that and look at a different direction. Because we're talking about very minimum water really ever going through that, because we're going to try to recycle all of it we can anyway. They actually just sent me the prints till I go, so I'm gonna take that up there, see what that box is gonna cost us. See what that end's gonna cost us, send it to Chase, let them get approved on their end, and then we'll go again. So, but we're moving on, but it's that part's been kind of slow, because it's not really accessible around here that much. It's kind of it's like going to a plumbing store. It's kind of an odd thing to go after. So it's a little different.
One thing, like, with some of the specialty type crews
Yeah.
and such, I mean, I think what people don't understand is, with Kevin doing that, I mean, you know, these guys can go out and address these small structures and bridges, that just require, you know, a little bit of maintenance and can get us down the road for a number more years. And a lot of this work can go on all year long, I mean, so.
So you can probably see the mowing crews on that crew, and that was by design. So hopefully in the fall of the year and there's slower periods, you know, they'll be able to utilize on that crew and start working on those projects. And you know, and during the mowing season, of course, they'll be busy on that, but you know, that's why we had that. And it puts a guy over that, which is always kind of nice.
It's a great
It's a great idea.
To have that.
I've read through some of these bridge reports and it's just for years and years and years, you know, we've had engineers tell us to, you know, things that we need to be doing to save these bridges. And
Yeah, these small structures, you know, your footers are washed out.
And Scott County's
Other
never done it.
issues, I mean, those guys can
We're
come
gonna
up with Gabion baskets, whatever the case is.
We're gonna see if we can, you know, we have, I'm not sure what size it is, it's a very large excavator. We're gonna see if we can start getting in where we can start utilizing that piece. Right now, we don't have anything to move it with, but maybe we'll be able to get something in the future. If not, I can always get a contractor to move it right now.
I think Kevin moved it last year.
Right, yeah, I'd like to get it where we can, move it. We're looking at, the trailer we have for the move that paper is, you know, it does the job, but it's not really compatible. It's a 50,000-pound machine going 3 foot in the air, and it's not the right trailer if you want to get right down to it. So I'm looking at options like, hey, maybe we could get rid of that and get a used low wood to put the paver up on, and put an excavator up on, and put a dozer up on, and might utilize it a little better. There'll be spots maybe it won't go, you know, in a county, but majority of it will.
It'll get you close anyway.
It'll get, that's what I said, it'll get us close enough, we'll track it the rest of the way or something, but, we're looking at those things, that's just a work in process, you know, in progress, but I think we can, utilize that machine on a lot of these washouts, just to get it down over the hill and where it needs to go anyway. We'll work on that.
Well, a lot of them's been neglected, and like they said, if you keep them maintained and keep the rock in them behind the walls and everything else where they don't wash out.
If you look at the inspection reports and recommendations, 90% of it's, you know, washout scours, footers washed out, riprap missing.
Yeah.
You know, for whatever reason, we have a lot of dead load on our stuff with asphalt over top of it. Some of that we can work on. Some bridge decks we can work on, check on, doing some different things on taking the asphalt out, maybe resealing them. There's just things we'll look
Cut some
at.
of that off.
We can. Yeah, some of it I think
Grind
just
it.
need to come all the way off and see where we can go with it.
Yeah, I mean, you can do, yeah.
There's a lot of different
Joint
options for that
work,
out
and
there.
we can do some things that went down the road for 2 years.
Yeah, some of it we can
Maintain
push
our
away,
road
you know,
ratings.
push away out, I think.
Alright,
Did you have
If we
anything?
wanna go ahead and address the, interlocal and the resolution at this point, Jennifer, I sent you both of those.
Oh, he could probably get Jim Turn and old Leo Campbell back and help him with that.
They're probably out there looking for something to do.
Those are the kind of stuff, you know, those guys always used to do.
well,
We're kind of working on how we're gonna lay out these other 2 crews on the areas that they're gonna go, working on the mileage. I have a rough idea right now, but when we get it laid out, we'll bring it in and show you.
but you got the buy-in.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, it's you know, change is change, but it ain't always a bad thing, you know?
Some changes.
I mean, it's gonna help with the sharing equipment too, I think. I think we're gonna rent a lot of things we need for the bridge crew, especially crew. And then that takes down these other 2 crews only having to split two ways, which is a struggle when everybody needs an excavator and everybody needs a grade on, everybody needs a skid loader, and there's one piece.
Yeah.
In other words, there's a lot of people down when they don't have that, so.
It's just the way it works smarter, you know?
Okay. And I've put in that we're gonna try to get another person. I don't know, sure, I'm just kinda starting that, I'm not sure what process that works, but honestly, we're not back up to full staff where I was at when I started, because we gave up one guy for like $1 on a mechanic or something, so. We'll just address that and see if it's a possibility during budget time. If it isn't, we'll address it later, but if it is, we'll try to get it.
Sounds good.
Ron, we'll stand by here waiting. Actually, we can just move on.
Yeah, we can.
We'll come back to it when we
Stick
get it.
around.
You know,
Sounds like beginning of the meeting, so.
I need to be here.
I mean, if you would stick around.
Hey,
Where you guys going?
while we're waiting for that paperwork, transfer station scale C does.
Fifth one, be careful.
Aaron, is that you?
Well, the transfer station, would benefit from having scales. We got a lead on some scales, which, you know, for $10,000, which is a good price, and for everyone to get scales, it'd be the way to go. But to give you an idea, though, I do know somebody who bought some scales that about half the length of these, for $7,500. And by the time they got them in, transported down, which we could transport them ourselves. And the weights and measures person, cause anything you do that with, you know, sales, you have to have a weights and measure guy go through. It was about $30,000 total. So the $10,000 is just for the scales. We would be invested in probably another 30 or 40 because this scale is twice that length. So that was just FYI for now. But that's all.
Anything on that? I mean, I understand, we talked about it what was it, a year ago or so, when we talked about raising the rates out there and everything, we talked about a scale at that time and beat it around and it was twofold, we were thinking that we would just charge by the tonnage or however much weight you were dropping into the land or into the transfer station. It's not a landfill. And then on the flip side of that is having them, our vendor that hauls it off, weigh it so that we know that, you know, we're justified in the weight. But since then, we have actually came up with a different cost model, I guess, for.
We got control of it. For now.
For each truck and types of trailers and everything else, and surprisingly, we're not so far in the red, and I think we're actually, may have our nose above the water level, but we've done we've cut back hours, we've got part-time people out there. We've done a lot of cutting to get to where it can sustain itself and not be a burden.
I think the biggest thing about having scales is not so much right now, and it's easy to get a little bit laxed on it and not worry about it now. It's more along the lines of the future, so that we can monitor prices quicker. Because, I mean, what was it? We was over $100,000 in taxpayers' money to keep the transfer station open. And now we've got it to where it's not costing the taxpayers anything.
Yeah.
But you know, if you don't have something to monitor that when when prices increase, it can creep up on you and get you back in the red really quick for the future.
Yeah, I agree with that. Oh, you're here. The wait a minute, let me back up here. Do you wanna know what the resolution number is?
That's 16.
Yeah, okay.
First would be the interlocal.
Okay.
There was one change relative to the pieces of equipment and the methods of purchase and the interest or ownership of each of the counties. So originally the idea was that one of the counties would take over the purchasing of the equipment, but each county would contribute to the purchase, 50% basically, and then maintain an ownership interest in each piece of equipment. But after some discussion, I think Jefferson County already has a pneumatic roller and a distributor. So those pieces of equipment would continue to be owned wholly by Jefferson County. We would be purchasing a chip seal piece of equipment that we would own, but it would still be housed in Jefferson County. I think both counties would then be responsible for the maintenance of and the insurance on the piece of equipment that they owned. But we would each use these pieces of equipment to accomplish the goals established in the interlocal agreement. Everything else remains logistically the same.
And by the way, how we got here was Jefferson County Commissioners and Council approved this plan, and that's why we have this agreement, which is.
And I did communicate those changes to the attorney for the Board of Commissioners for Jefferson County. So I don't have the signed version from Jefferson County at this point in time, but that because they have approved it and we're just making this one small change, they may have to go back through and just approve the language change, but it is in substance almost exactly the same.
Okay. Alright, I'm on first 9 pages.
You do not have to read the
I'm not-
entirety of the
I'm
agreement.
not gonna read 9 pages. Actually, it's only 4 that's, again, for people that just listen to our attorney explain this, how we got here was, there was a conversation between a commissioner in Jefferson County and their highway superintendent, and, actually Greg in the beginning, then me at a commissioners convention in Indianapolis. So, what it is that and I think we ought to probably do this in the future more than we have ever done, because I don't know that, I think we've done some interlocals with some cities, maybe the city of Austin, city of Scottsburg, but we've never entertained a interlocal within another county, which, with the price of everything going up, I think we need to probably do that more than we do now. And actually speaking with some other commissioners, they're open to do that. They understand, because they're in the same boat we are. I mean, even though some of them have riverboats sitting out there that gives them a bunch of money, even those people, communities and counties are open to sharing and taking these type of things. So this is a big savings to taxpayer of Scott County on this particular piece of equipment, especially for the fact that we have to move into road preservation with chip sealing and preserving our roads that we have now, and then maintain them for the future. So with this agreement here, we're actually going to we'll end up buying a piece of equipment that we originally talked about over a year or so ago, if we bought all three pieces of equipment, it cost us, I think, $790,000, and that price has probably went up again since then. This agreement gets us somewhere in the piece of equipment that we need to buy, somewhere in the $400,000 range, so it's a cost savings to the county, at least $300,000 or $400,000. So anyway, I'll entertain a motion to, enter into an interlocal agreement between the Jefferson County, Indiana, and Scott County, Indiana, regarding funds for the purchase of Scott County highway equipment and maintenance. So
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes that motion, Greg
I'll second.
seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. So this has been actually something that we've been working on for probably since last November. And since this is a pass or a yay or nay thing, so I'm gonna ask again, Randy, are you yay or nay?
Yay.
Greg, are you yay or nay?
Yay.
And I'm a yay as well, so on August, you said the 24th? 21. I voted 3-0.
First.
Actually, I just screwed that up, cause that's Jefferson County, we're on August, so. Put that out. Take that away and bring it back to there. All right, second part of this is a resolution number 16. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana, approving plan for appropriation of funds to purchase certain equipment for the County Highway Department. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana Board has been tasked by the County Council of Scott County, Indiana Council with implementing programs and funds for the American Rescue Act. Where do you put that with that? These are the other two forms, that's for them, that's for, yeah, this is all them. For the American Rescue Plan Act pursuant to the guidance and rules of the United States Treasury, whereas the board is the executive and the legislative body of Scott County. Whereas ARPA section 603C-1 provides the funds may be used for the following purposes: to respond to public health emergencies or negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small business, and nonprofits, or to aid to impact industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality. B, to respond to workers performing essential work during a COVID-19 public emergency or health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers. And C, for the provision of government services to extend and reduction in revenue due to COVID-19 public health emergencies related to revenues collected in most recent full fiscal year prior to the emergency. And D, to make necessary investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. Whereas the board has determined to provide specific amounts from the ARPA funds to fund the purchase of certain ship and seal equipment as specified in the proposed interlocal agreement between Jefferson County and Scott County as necessary to provide government services under the final rule. Whereas the provisions of government services by Scott County Highway Department is necessary services to maintain county roads and permissible use of ARPA funds pursuant to the rules and guidance of the United States Treasury. Whereas the project constitutes government services with the meaning of the guidance of the United States Treasury, included but not limited to the final rule published by the United States Treasury and made effective April 1st of 2022, the final rule which broadly defines government services. Whereas the board has agreed to allocate $410,000 in ARPA funds for the project, which is the total amount allocated for purchase of chip seal equipment for the Scott County Highway Department as specified below. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana, that the board hereby finds the terms of the project constitutes provision of government services that contemplated and permitted under the final rule. The equipment to be purchased is a chip spreader. The equipment has been rebid on multiple occasions, and only a single bidder has responded to the sealed bids. Furthermore, the bid has a contract within the Indiana state of Indiana to offer discounted and set rates to government entities and political subdivisions of the state of Indiana. The most recent bid was opened on March 6, 2024, and the opening bid in the Scott County Commissioners. The board hereby approves the allocations distribute month of $410,000 in ARPA funds to fund certain chip and seal equipment for the maintenance of Scott County roads for the purpose specified in the interlocal agreement between Jefferson County and Scott County, Indiana. The board, the president of the board and the auditor of Scott County hereby are authorized and directed to finalize and execute any documents and take any actions as may be necessary or appropriate in the forbearance of this resolution. This resolution is effective immediately upon passage. Recording is to be contingent upon sufficient appropriations by the county fiscal body and upon execution of the interlocal agreement by all parties. Questions, comments?
And that 410,000 is from the ARPA funds, line item. I would reiterate that, it is August 21st. And if the funds are not allocated by December 31st of 2024, the funds, any funds remaining and unallocated need to be returned to the federal government. So this is money that must be spent within the next 4 months. There are other plans and projects, I think, in the works for the remainder of the funds, but this amount I don't believe would completely eliminate the amounts that are left, so I just want to reiterate that these types of plans and things need to be put in motion very quickly. And I would say, Mike, to your point about when this all started and what kind of savings that this plan offers, I think that the creative solution and agreements between Jefferson County and Scott County, the previous ARPA allocation for these three pieces of equipment was $756,625. So you're saving somewhere around $350,000 or close to that amount approximately by partnering. And then I think you're also getting the benefits associated with additional workers for specific seasons. Now that comes at a cost, but it is something that the county can plan for, and we can assist Jefferson County as well with taking care of their needs during that time.
Yeah, it's a trade-off. So,
Uh,
comment?
well, the council meets once a month. So,
The appropriation, it's my understanding though that it's already been advertised.
The 410, it was under a different, resolution, I guess it would be the same, it's the same
It's
amount.
the same amount, it's really just making sure that we're dotting our T's and crossing our I's as to the amended resolution, I mean, the amended interlocal, but the amount has already been advertised, the line item has already been advertised, so, council could take action on the resolution or, the interlocal agreement, which they also would need to be consulted and they would have to approve for it to be effective. Just like Jefferson County's council, I think, is gonna consider it. But that could be done for next meeting.
so my question is, I mean, should we just go ahead and make 4 more? Because the council meets once a month, we gotta decide this within 4 months, or they have to give the money back, so should we go ahead and think ahead and make 4 more and just keep turning them back in every month?
Speaking of that, I would, and I think Zach, you and I had this conversation, but I think we need to have in the not too future here we need to have whether it's an executive session with the council or a non-executive meeting with the council to say.
It would probably need to be a
Here's-
joint open meeting. I don't know that it would qualify. for
It doesn't need to be an executive, I mean, it's just, I'm just saying that we need, and actually I prefer probably not be an executive, so. But we need to sit down look at the rest of all the appropriations that the commissioners have passed that hasn't been funded. And
Yeah, we don't.
I don't wanna send any money
Just to be
back.
clear, we don't have to spend the money by December 31st of 2024, but it must be appropriated and allocated for the purposes that it will be used for.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We have till 2026 to spend it. We have to say what we're gonna spend it on by the end of this year.
Cause we wanna go ahead and set a date. This would be an exciting meeting, I think. What's your
I would
thought? I think-
probably say that the president of the council and the president of the commissioners could call a joint meeting
I think that's what
together.
we're gonna do.
So, I'd wait on setting a date and just see, make sure that we can get everybody's calendars.
But we need to do it in the next couple of weeks, because we need to iron out whatever problems we're gonna have, because me personally, I don't wanna send a dime back to the federal government. And, cause there's plenty of opportunity to spend the money someplace.
Hey, Mike, to kind of bounce off what Zach said, you know, you saved 350,000 sharing with Jefferson County, but
And that's just in straight capital cost. I understand the savings that.
on the sharing, yeah, but on a $400,000, I just did this quick math. So compared to full HMA retail that we paid this year, it take 5 miles to pay that 400,000, pay the county back. So I just kind of want to, you know, let that be known. And Taylor Mill Road, I think I went down yesterday, had some complaints and stuff on it. And roughly I figured, you know, that's going to be a $150,000 to $175,000 road. I'll be honest with you, that road got this one, I mean, I was like, where does that fit? Where does that fit on the market to get to in our budget? Or, you know, a long way away is what it fits. You have some patchwork for sure, but as far as actually, you know, actually putting asphalt on it with a $400,000 budget, no.
Well, I mean, I
Repairing all
think
those bridges, no.
you were talking before that it's and now it's actually went up tremendously, because it used to be 48,000 per mile to blacktop when I first came as a commissioner, and $10,000 to chip seal that same mile. Now it's $40,000 to chip seal a mile and $100,000 to chip, or to
Keep
pave,
going,
Yeah.
pave the same mile.
60% savings.
So even though people complain about chip sealing, you know, I guess you should have grew
I
up
kind of
in
bring that up, I guess, with the board of commissioners, whoever it is at that time. I feel like whatever their decision is, if they look at the highway department and say, you don't chip seal that road, you mill and fill it, because whatever, the average traffic count. I mean, I don't agree with that, but that's a decision that they want to make. But roads like I just mentioned, and a lot of these roads, it's just like the average traffic count on is like 15 cars.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, I don't know when you're gonna pay that.
Yeah,
with the
well,
budget we have.
what I was gonna say was that if some people had the luxury to be as old as Steve Myers, they would know that there was a lot of roads in this county that were gravel. And I mean, there's a lot of people who live on Marshfield right now. Marshfield, when I was a kid, I had a farm out there. When I was a kid, my grandparents had a farm out there. That was gravel. The only place that had any kind of dust control was when they would drop oil down in front of people's houses so that the dust wouldn't mow over your house forever. But a lot of these roads were gravel. I mean, and we have came as a county, you know, I would say, we have came as a county, we don't have too many roads that are still gravel. If they are, they're either underwater half the time, or they're so seldomly used that they don't need to be paved. But almost every road that is traveled at any length is paved. And I mean, there was times when we didn't have the money to do this, and there was a couple of roads in my district that I said, there's so many potholes in it, it'd been better to grind it up and put it back to gravel.
Right.
But we're not at that point.
The
If
goal
we
is
can-
not to let the roads get to that.
Exactly.
That's correct.
Once it gets to that point, then you're done.
You're
Our
done.
goal is,
There is no chip seal.
Cartersville Road, that was $1 million road this year, full retail HMA, that was $1 million road. And I don't know, I ain't got the papers in front of me, but I knew it was 150,000, something like that, 200,000. And with county dollars, it's 60 cents a square yard. You're not gonna get any cheaper. It's just, it doesn't exist. I'm not saying it's the best or the greatest or whatever, but as far as this county and its dollars,
But where I was going with that is, you want potholes? You want a road
That's where I was going with it.
you want potholes in a road that you have to, you know, try to, go around? Or do you want a road that is, sounds a little rougher as it's going, but it's gonna be there for a while, and it saves the county? And quite honestly, I've had this conversation with, some people in the last few days. We can do whatever, we can go out and pave every road in Scott County. We can go out and raise your taxes, you know, 50% more than what it is right now. If that's what you want, hey, come in here and tell us that, hey, go raise my taxes. We can do whatever you want, but we're trying to be fiscally conservative and spend the money that we have, or don't, or actually take care of the properties and the roads and the equipment we have without raising your taxes. And I mean, we haven't raised your taxes, so I mean, we can do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
paving
just-
is an expensive luxury.
I mean, just like the state says, oh yeah, you wanna do this. Well, no, I'm not gonna raise an LIT tax. I mean, why?
Chip seal on 56.
Yeah,
you know, I think one thing that I've seen, maybe I mentioned Sarandie, that an entity could do over what the contractor did in this county is, you know, the contractor has to make a lot of money. The guys were on prevailing wages, there's millions of dollars of equipment sitting there, and they have to cover a lot of miles really quick. On the government entity part of it, if our goal is to more, you know, be more citizen conscious, I guess. So, you know, we do a mile a day. If our goal is 25 miles that year, we're okay with that. So that means if we're shutting down, you know, A to B, do this area, clean it up, make it less intrusive, we can do that. I mean, that's in our wheelhouse. A contractor cannot do that,
No.
because he has to turn it on, or he has to turn it on.
well, flipping that switch, Jefferson County chip seals 40 miles a year.
Yeah.
So they know how to do it.
Right.
I mean, and that's part of this deal, is that they're gonna come and help us
Yeah.
chip seal our stuff. So they're doing it, last year they did 40 miles. I don't know what they did this year, they probably that or more. But that's what they're doing. I mean, so, but anyway,
And Scott County, we need to do 31 miles a year, really, basically, to keep all of our roads up to
I think we have right around 300 miles of road, I think.
311.
307 is what our official state count is this year, which we're working on that. It probably needs to be higher than that. There's some roads. It's not.
But, I mean, you're
That's
lucky-
what we got paid for.
Yeah.
And
You're lucky to
community
get 10 years out of a
crossing
road.
Community crossing fits a lot of different things. It can fit CC, it can buy our material.
Yeah, so,
We can only pay 25% of that material, which the force account wants to cover. So that drives it down. I mean, it's getting down to 20 cents
Yeah.
per yard at that point.
but we have opportunity to really stretch these dollars
Oh,
to
yeah.
make
But,
a big
yeah,
impact on.
I think my whole goal is to utilize community crossings for a lot of our structures and bridges, possibly. Instead of just asphalt, of what we were doing, which is nice, but
Yeah.
you gotta fix the $100 million of bridges you have to.
That's right. At the end of the day, we got a couple of miles.
Your road would be
All
nice
that
on each
money.
side if there's no bridge in the middle of it.
Well, if there's,
It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
take out one of those bridges and see.
And I think one of the biggest, things that we need to tell people, across the
Can I
board.
add, you guys are lucky to have that problem, we only got to do 3 miles a year.
Well, I did
yeah.
too when I
3
first
miles a year.
And that's the point. And then without grants, that's what we return to.
Yeah.
And that's why we gotta have the chip seal
Yes.
equipment.
But we
And,
need to take
I
care of
mean,
those 3 miles.
nobody likes chip seal, but I think everybody likes the idea of having a road. And if we don't do this, there will be no road.
Well, unless you just wanna raise taxes again.
Exactly.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to
Hard to keep
pass
up with the school.
resolution number 16, so.
I'll, make that,
It's a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Scott County, Indiana, approving the plan to appropriate of funds, purchase certain equipment for the Scott County Highway,
I'll make that.
i.e. chip seal equipment.
I'll make that,
Randy makes a motion, Greg? I'll make that unanimous.
I'll make that motion times 4.
Hopefully, we don't have to do that. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for all your side work on that too. I mean, I know you've been in and out with Clark County and Mr. Attorney, I appreciate your help on that as well,
Yeah,
so.
thanks.
I think this is Kevin too, if you wanna have him hold on.
That's what I was gonna say, when he started to get.
I'll
out
make it this
there.
far.
DNR floodplain administrator, God, I wonder who we were trying to get to do that.
Didn't you say you, yeah, didn't you say you was interested in doing that since you was already kinda doing that anyway with them? I mean, it kinda goes hand in hand with what you do.
Yeah.
It kinda goes hand in
I'm not
hand.
interested in the experience, I can tell you that.
They're not easy to deal with anyway.
No, the bit in the water's terrible.
No,
If we are going to do that appointment for Kevin specifically, you know, here's what I would suggest. We are getting ready to go through another round of budget with council. We need to do, I don't care if it's two completely separate, you know, positions basically that are with the responsibilities outlined for the job description. And then they're combined for the purposes of the salary ordinance, but, I think that I understand where Kevin is coming from, you know, these are additional responsibilities, and duties, and those need to be considered, at budget.
Absolutely.
yes, sir.
I didn't permit when we done over this, I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah,
I know you did.
that's my world there.
Yeah,
That's
it ain't easy.
Anyway, here's the reason why we're at this point here. DNR has sent us a letter stating that, we had to have a person or a program, an administrator of that program. And it looks like requires floodplain administrator obtain and approve training by June 30th of 2025. And this person would serve as a floodplain administrator of county or municipality. So that's where we're at. I mean, we don't have to do it tonight. I mean, but I
But
understand.
it's a mandatory.
It is a
Like,
mandatory.
I
We
think-
have to do it.
Yeah, we have, I mean,
I think the commissioner, it's on the drainage board has to do it.
Is it?
Do you now?
Anyway, we're gonna move on from there, but, you're exactly right, Kevin, and as the attorney said, we've talked about sending a letter to the council, with, I guess, some, how do I wanna word this? Some request for additional monies for some salaries, and, we'll add that into that list of,
I mean,
hey,
I think the model that we've used would be, and it would be perfect, the model after is the, for the economic development position that's coupled with the, visitors commission, right? So it's, you know,
we're adding some responsibilities, cause we've got another thought with Kevin's position on another day. So we'll send a letter to the council on with some requests for some other stuff before their, budget hearings, so. Cemetery board, and that's back to me again.
I sent,
Go ahead.
you a resolution that has like the proposed language for ratifying and reconstituting the
Such as now
cemetery
or
board
something?
going forward. We don't have to address it tonight, but I just want you guys to know that that's prepared. It would just need the names of the 5 individuals.
Well, there's 2 of them are not there anymore.
Well, and so I think the thing that makes the most sense is whether we keep members that were
Yeah.
previously on the board or not, just starting from scratch and doing appointments that terminate
We need to know
effective January,
which,
or no, December 31st of 2025.
we need to know which ones came on first, second, third,
Well,
because they're
I
all.
don't think we will be able to figure that out. I think the records are too
So just start from scratch.
lacking, so I built it in as
There you go.
staggered terms.
Yep.
For
I know-
each of the positions.
I know 3 of the people said they wanted to continue, so.
And every time it comes up, every January, you would just, those 2 members, like, we would just do the appointments every single year going
There you go.
forward, basically, until we get to
We need
that
to add
5th
that
year.
to your committee list too, because
Yes,
it's never
I
been
will.
on there.
I think I might have already
Stay
started that
for
one,
5 years.
yeah.
Right, 5-year terms, then you just do 1 appointment every year.
Okay, well, speaking with that, I spoke to the only person we have working. I guess there's usually 2 people that mow the county cemeteries. And I don't wanna say county cemeteries, because they're not owned by the county. They are historical cemeteries that a judge deems historical. And also ones that have been, I guess, not abandoned, that's not a word, but I mean, they're cemeteries, and I'm gonna go back a minute. When the centennial happened in Scott County, my brother-in-law at the time, was in his summer of one of his college years. He actually took the job of going around and finding these cemeteries in the back of a field someplace and mowed them all. And actually showed where they were all at, cause a lot of them just had headstones, some of them didn't even have a headstone. But anyway, we had a group and a board, and actually, we've talked about this before, the boards has not been ran properly. And it's not that they did anything wrong, but they're supposed to come to this board because they get funds and they're supposed to report to us. The guy that oversaw that, Mr. Robbins, recently passed away, and he's been in some bad health for several years. But anyway, spoke to the guy that is the only guy mowing it this year, and again, this is another place where we need to go to council, because this guy makes $11.88 an hour. 78? Well, he told me he got an 8-cent raise last year. I don't know how that happened, but I mean, he said, well, I got 8 cents last year. He's perfectly happy with his job. Said he's been doing it 14 years, said I'll continue to do it. He likes that he mows from one of the weeks in April to one of the weeks in October, and I asked him, I said, well, how many more people do you need? He goes, I need 1. And he needs to be able to mow and weed eat, that's all I need. So we need to go again to the council with the letter and state that, hey, we need to get this guy an increase in pay. We need to get the second person that's gonna come on the same, an increase in pay. And then he said, I need a tractor. And Randy and I spoke about this. This came to this board at least 3 years ago, and I thought, we need to go back in the minutes, cause I thought we appropriated.
I thought we did too.
I thought we said, let's buy a mower, cause it's a rear discharge mower, and they're rare, you gotta make sure it's a certain one, but I thought we said, let's buy the mower. And he says they never got it, so we need to find out if we did approve that to happen, and that money comes out of the commissioner's budget, for that mower. But if not, we need to buy him a mower, I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we need, if you guys know somebody that wants to be on a cemetery board, we need to get a hold of them and see who wants to serve.
3 returning and 2,
3 said they would continue to serve, and we need to replace 2.
and that we will need to kind of maintain going forward, annual budget reporting. I mean, I know we've done that, right? We've just done it, but we need to hear from them about what they need, the needs are. And then they have some obligations independently to I wanna say it's the state historical preservation.
State SHPO.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of those people, and it was Mr. Robbins, one of those people are paid.
Yes, it was a very small
Oh, I
amount.
mean, yeah, it
Yeah,
was,
I'm
but
thinking maybe 1,600, something like that.
I thought it was 15, but I
Something
mean,
like
but
that.
one of them, and I don't know how they determine that, whether it's that board approves
Probably
that.
the person that's approving any type of annual report
And
that
that's-
they send in.
Yeah.
So
because
one of, whether,
calculating.
do we make that person or choose that person, or does that board choose that person?
The statute says we just do the appointment to the board, and then it's the county cemeteries board's obligation to file that annual report, so I would leave it up to them.
But I'm trying to figure out how one of them gets paid and the other four don't.
Well, and I kinda think, if you look at it, and he was paid, I think, out of the cemetery part, but it was more like for going around and checking the cemeteries. Now, I think he maybe went with these gentlemen, but I think he was actually paid more for, like follow-up to make sure that the jobs were done.
So he was like the manager or
Yeah, yeah.
supervisor.
And he was the one who turned in the claims and things like that,
So
so.
we need to have one of the five
Mhm.
to accept that responsibility, so. Okay, well, guys, come up with somebody and we'll talk
Kevin.
about it next meeting. Kevin?
I hear all about it anyway.
Speaking
That
of
list
which.
just keeps getting.
Yes. Speaking of which.
Capital asset policy ordinance.
We have it prepared, it's been, again, it's just the question of what do you want the threshold amount to be? I think it, presumptively, we set it at 10,000,
I think it was 15.
15,000, so
I forgot to put it in my packet. Do you need that again? No.
I just need the ordinance number. They're out there, or we'll just say it is.
Hang on just a minute. I can find out.
You're good. She said it's 15,000,
yeah, let me pull, yes, it's 15,000.
What does that affect? Any purchases over that amount? Or any,
value, I think it is.
It depends on the type of asset we're talking about, so I don't know a quick way to
consumable
answer.
assets?
The what?
Consumable assets?
Consumable
Like-
assets. Are you guys talking about like medications? I do not believe that this applies to medications.
Then is it a
So
purchase
it's-
order price or is it an item? No, I mean, I need to know.
Tangible assets, capital outlays, infrastructure, land, improvements to structures, buildings, obviously, machinery and equipment,
All your monitors.
It's not,
leases,
you're gonna be a lot more
leaseholds.
involved in the event.
I don't see anything that would
Okay.
be,
Ordinance 30.
Or I get in trouble and end up on the news, I wanna make sure.
so there's a couple dates that are
It
on,
won't be for that.
I mean, everything is, it's spelled out, but there's some dates in here for, issued effective on, so that'd be today's date and then relatively.
Alright. Number 30.
3. 3, just 3.
Oh, I thought I heard you say 30.
Turn your bell.
That's good.
Just 3.
Alright, we've talked about this before, so I'm not gonna read this whole thing, but this is about the, county assets of what's considered something that the county is showing as, you know, owing, and that it looks like the threshold is $15,000. And I'll just read the first part of it. It says the capital asset policy is being issued effective today's date. The new policy will be referred as the capital asset policy. This policy is being issued to document the minimum value of capital assets to be reported on our financial reports and to include infrastructure assets. This insurance of policy document is related to the implementation of the new recording model, governmental accounting standards board statements 34. Statement 34 will require the county to depreciate capital assets. The capital asset threshold will be $15,000. An asset with a value under $15,000 will be expensed in the year of purchase. The infrastructure portion of this policy is also in effect on this same day. County utilities will fall in the same definition of capital assets, except any item with a unit cost of $15,000 or more shall be capitalized. Assets that are not capitalized, items under $15,000, are expensed the year of acquisition. So, anyway, I'll entertain a motion if nobody's got anything to say or comment about ordinance number 3, which is an ordinance establishing a capital asset policy.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes that motion, Greg?
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. There's not a sign sheet.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that.
Alright, we'll sign it here
I
now.
might have that down.
Alright, Nazarene Church renovation update.
Alright, we're still waiting for Kevin to roof that thing.
Kevin.
No.
Change your name.
Anyway, no, I've talked to Lindsay, Hopkins. Monday, they're going to start stripping the roof, and getting all the old off there, and then Tuesday, he's gonna have the Amish start coming in and start putting the roof back on.
Sounds good. We talked about having someone write a scope of work for the rest of the renovations inside the building. And, speaking with our attorney, he suggests that we still have our engineer write up something stating that we're taking the floor down back to the level, we're gonna do some electrical work, we're gonna put in HVAC or whatever, and also have a drawing of some sort. So that, because we're gonna use opioid money, that
We gotta be specific.
we have to have all our ducks in a row with that. We did our engineer with an engineer, here's his take, and he actually came over and looked at the building and said it's a very sound building, and he said, you really don't need me, but we would like him to write a, kind of here's what's going on and whatever. So if we do that, then we can move on to, hey, contractors, advertise it and get somebody to come in and do the interior work, and so.
Okay, I'll reach out to Anthony.
Okay.
Get on him again.
Sounds good. Consideration of any, new special claims or regular
I do
claims?
have.
Now, we'll say we are gonna sign this ordinance number 3.
Yes.
We just don't have a signature page on it, so.
I have 2 here. One is for KLB. It's a bridge construction,
Beauregard Road,
yes,
Walker. Or no, Bridgewater Road.
Bridgewater.
Yeah, that turned out pretty nice.
Yeah.
And then we have one here for the sheriff's department that had,
Is that the elevator?
Yes,
Are they taking out the jail lit fund?
yes.
Okay.
They transferred money from, their inmate services into their building repair fund. And then we will do an additional appropriation to replace that out of lit.
Okay, cause I know he's sent an email on, I wanna make sure that we're not taking it out of something else. That's what the jail lit fund is for, is for
Yes.
maintenance and upkeep and everything else, so. That's for bridge. So that's a lot cheaper. Wait a minute, 6% down. Go back. Check files.
Kevin, for that invoice out there, it's just one invoice, right?
This 1226, is that half of it?
How much?
Because back here it says 20,000,
Well, he
but then it
needed
says
10,000 up front.
50 down, 50% down.
Claim, I get the return check.
From what he told me, you
and I'll
needed
start
10,000
processing it.
to pay it today, or right now, tomorrow, and then
So we're
10,000
not-
when it's finished.
Okay, alright, so we're gonna just do it half and half.
Yes.
Alright, these are both special invoices. One of them is for KLB excavating for, Bridgewater Road for a culvert or small structure. And it's in the amount of $189,269, so that's the first one. The second one is for $12,277 for half of repairs for the elevator in the jail, and that is to be taken out of jail with. So I'll entertain a motion to approve both these specials at the same time.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. That's that one. For some reason, they're asking for all three. So is there any regular claims?
I don't have those from Andy. Well, no, there shouldn't be. This is the second meeting. Sorry, I forgot.
We need to sign all those. Actually, hang on, you didn't grade it. You didn't sign that, I'm sorry. Consideration of payroll for August the 9th of 2024. Has everybody had an opportunity with payroll?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll entertain a motion to pay the payroll.
I'll make that motion.
Randy makes a motion, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. Consideration of the minutes for August the 7th. I had an opportunity to look at the minutes.
I have.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion.
Randy makes a motion to accept the minutes of August the 7th of 2024, Greg.
I'll second.
Greg seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous, so. Why we're sitting here signing papers, anybody have anything else, Greg, you got anything else?
No. You got anything, Steve? Yeah.
I do want to invite you tomorrow night, we're having our 50th celebration anniversary, River Hills at Hubers.
Thanks, Mom.
I think you all got invitation.
We did. I couldn't remember when it
You
was.
need to go, if you want to go, I can get you, well,
Okay. Everything else good with them and? Mr. Attorney, you got anything?
Not have anything.
Randy, do you have anything?
I don't know, are you gonna come up with anything?
I've got a few things.
I'll wait till you're done.
Alright. Alright. I would ask our attorney here to draw a amendment up to our ordinance, that ordinance that I asked about with like properties and stuff where it's, I can't remember what the ordinance number is, but anyway, Jennifer sent me an ordinance, and I'll have to look it up, but I'll send you the information on it. But what I'm wanting to do is, the county has an ordinance that says if you have a dilapidated house, trailer, something been burnt down or whatever, that it really doesn't tell you to remove it. It doesn't give you a timeline of telling you when to remove it. It just says that you should remove it, but there's no teeth to it or no timeline or whatever. I did reach out to,
When was the ordinance created?
it's probably before I was born, probably.
Okay.
She sent,
Yeah.
Jennifer sent it to me, but I can't remember what it was.
I can't,
It's not the
like
unsafe
2017
building.
maybe, or 19.
I don't think it's anything about the unsafe building.
I don't think it was that one. I do think it was a different one, because Kinley's the one who found it for me. But she's thinking it was maybe from 17 or 19, somewhere along there.
But anyway, I just wanna make an amendment to it to put a date of, hey, you got 365 days from the time that you had a fire, you had, act of Mother Nature, or if you've abandoned a home and said, I'm not gonna live there anymore and just let it go to heck. I think we need to have some teeth in it. I reached out to a city councilman in Austin in the past, and they said they put for a year in theirs and said, you know, you have to and his actually words was, you have to show that you're doing something within a year. And then he said, technically, I think they might even put if you got 30 days after that to have it removed. We're just, especially over these kind of hearings we've had about the trailers and stuff that people just abandon and whatever, we just need to put it back on the homeowner if they're, and the reason I called our insurance agent is because I wanted to know, hey, how long is the period between somebody filing a claim and you give them the money to be able to, you know, either repair their house, you know, build a new house. Yeah, but he's saying it's pretty quick usually, but, so and that's when he said, well, we usually did the 365 days, so, and then a 30-day grace, so if we can.
If you want to send me a copy of the ordinance, I'll look at it and see how to restructure it.
That's one thing I have. City Hall, I just got a text from the mayor the other day saying, oh, we're closing soon, I don't know what that meant, so.
Well, we should be closing in on the 90-day extension, so I assume that's what that is in reference to.
We already talked about the, letter, to the council. Also, I would like for us to get some quotes for that mower for the cemetery board, so, with the rear discharge, so, and I know
we need to get the quotes.
Huh?
You want us to get the quotes? Or?
Oh, I think we need to get the quotes. So, I went to Scott's the other day, because I know they're in town and have a boatload of mowers up there, but they didn't have any that had the rear discharge.
For a zero turn, I might be wrong, but I know the Hustler, I believe they have one.
That's what he.
And I know Skaggs makes one, but I don't know if there's another zero turn out there. I'll have to look into that does that.
Okay. Well,
I mean, we might only end up with 2 bids.
If that.
Maybe they're going up at Seymour or something.
And also, we need to advertise, Jennifer, maybe we can do it now, or we can or we wait till, you know, we see what the council does with the raise for the guy that mows. But, that might make it easier to hire the second person, because the guy, you know, the guy I talked to that is mowing now says he doesn't need anybody the rest of the year. He said, I've got it handled. And cause I said, how many people do you want? He goes, I just need one. I said, well, when you want him? He goes, I don't need him this year. I've got everything mowed, and, I know he hasn't weed eated like he wanted to weed eat, but right now we don't need to make that hire till later when we know. Be a bit, maybe a little bit more enticing to somebody know that they might be making, you know, more money than 11 something. And that's probably what happened to the other guy, cause he said he wanted another job, so. I think that's all I've got. So what do you got?
So there was a glitch in the low software to where when we took in, and it was not just, matter of fact, Jeffrey Street did not show up, but Green Acres did, and what?
I don't know, there's a list here.
But there's a list of several roads, county roads.
And I'm not sure that they are all county roads, that could be the issue.
Yeah, some of them may, yeah.
So,
But,
because I think that's why Jeffrey Street didn't show up on here.
right.
So there should be one for each one of the guys in the attorney. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
Private road.
But, so what happened,
they should.
anyway, through the WOW software program, we, was getting ready to put up our county roads for tax sale, because, nobody was paying taxes.
Actually,
But it was just a glitch.
I think at least
in the
one
system.
did go on the certificate sale.
One of them did?
I think so,
Yeah,
yeah.
we gotta take it off.
I mean, I don't know, but it was a private property, it is a road,
Yeah,
but, So-
but, anyway, it's being fixed. Missy's looking into it. She's contacted Lau and seeing what, she needs to write in there for that program to recognize that and kick it out and not get it in this list. Anyway,
If I
just
could
FYI
clarify,
for everybody.
I don't really think it's a glitch in the WOW system, it's that
The way
what
it's
we
reading.
haven't got put in correctly is what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Or possibly it is correct and we need to change it,
Yeah, anyway, either way,
yeah,
Lau called it out,
yeah.
and either the way we have it in there or the way the software program reads it, it picked up on it and,
Well, there you go, that $200-some thousand program that just saved us again.
Randy, if that program's pulling off the certified road mileage from the state, it's because that is correct. That Jeffrey Street isn't in, Windy Shores isn't in, Tyler Point ain't in. There's a laundry list of roads that are not in. I checked on getting an audit out of the county, $1,000 to get it done.
To make sure
But
that
just, to make sure that all the roads are actually, cause now, there's a step that we can do it, start doing it ourselves, but it's, when I say it's a step. You know, you gotta prove when they were took in.
Well, actually, I found that paperwork, cause I came in here and went back through the stuff on my road, cause everybody was saying it wasn't, and it was in the minutes of the meeting that they took it in.
Yeah, but it still is not recognized in the state.
Yeah.
And the reason I figured it out, if you go to CCMG, I was gonna apply for some stuff and make sure it won't let me because the state doesn't recognize it as a.
So what do we gotta do to get that?
I'll send some emails to you. I've started on it, on what details we have to have, and I mean, it's like anything else, it's like, it's doable, but it's a lot, but I bet that's where it came from, it pulls out of that system, and they're not in there.
You're naming multiple of the roads, so yeah, just on that list.
Okay. Is that all you got?
that's it. What do you got, Greg? I mean, not put you on the
I
spot,
do.
come on, tell us something.
Cindy,
Jennifer, what you got?
Cindy Sullivan that has Moxie Music, she does the,
Parties?
Rock in the Square on Friday, the third Friday. She asked you during October, the October car show, if the commissioners would mind if the people who were showing their cars passed out Halloween candy. I mean, I was gonna say, it's really no
Wait a
different.
minute. Maybe.
Is it on the same?
Here's my reply. The county courthouse square is a politically neutral zone. So if they can keep it politically neutral, then I'm all for it.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But if somebody is using this as a way to get elected, I'm not for it. Do you guys agree?
I know what
I mean,
you're-
we've always kept the courthouse square, we don't allow people to put up signs in the courthouse. You know, Mike, you've never put up any signs, I've never put up any signs. You know,
Well, I
it's
was
just,
given a note,
this
the note
is the
said she does not
county's.
necessarily wanna do it, but she's been asked, and it's because of the liability, she was worried about if it was,
Well, I think last time, somebody started wearing some shirts
okay.
and, like I said, this
Talking
is.
about liability for passing out candy.
Mhm.
Or the giving apples.
Yeah.
Don't they sign the,
They are.
They have their own, certificate of insurance to be able to do this.
so that's their decision.
Yeah, it's up to them.
They've executed the paperwork to indemnify us, so.
Just don't have somebody's picture on the candy.
So say, yes, it's okay, just be politically neutral,
Yeah. Anything else? Jennifer,
that's all I have.
I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Randy makes the motion, Greg. Second. Greg seconds, I'll make it unanimous. Kill the bird.